And I'm just laying there silently with my eyes closed. And I feel him enter me from behind all of a sudden with no warning. I didn't exactly know what was going on because I was more occupied with trying to not throw up.
Were you feeling sick and also extremely intoxicated simultaneously?
Yes, my head was spinning.
We need to have him investigated, thoroughly and suspend him as mayor in the process.
So it just felt like I was being used. And every single one of them said, wait a minute, you have to report this. This is not right. I'm just surprised that the council, the bulk of the council, barring Richard Brescher, has not asked for an investigation or questioned it any further. It's been brought up numerous times at council meetings by Christo Macropolis, by Anthony Diamarin. Numerous people have gotten up and asked questions. What happened? The townspeople want to know, but somehow the entire thing was just thrown in the garbage by the prosecutor's office.
I am Leroy Truth for Leroy Truth Investigation because the truth matters.
Welcome, truth seekers. I am Leroy Truth for Leroy Truth Investigations. I have a very critical story that I'm going to be bringing to you today. And it has to do with the allegedly extraordinarily corrupt mayor of Edison, New Jersey, Mayor Sam Joshi. Now, I have with me Richard Brescher. And am I saying your name right, Richard?
Yes, that's it.
Excellent. And Richard, what this is, and this is a very sensitive subject, and I found out from Christo a few months ago that Mayor Sam Joshi allegedly raped a woman in Edison, New Jersey. I read a newspaper article about that and how you brought this to light to help to support justice for the victim, who I prefer to call survivor, of the alleged rape by Sam Joshi. So if you would start in the beginning, how did you find out about what happened, and what did you end up doing with it from there? And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, before you go on, Richard, we have the survivor of the alleged rape that Sam Joshi allegedly did, the mayor of Edison. And we've talked yesterday in detail, and she has courageously come forward to share her story. She is looking for nothing. She has not asked for anything. As far as every conversation I have had with her and others, she simply wants justice and accountability, and that the people of Edison, New Jersey, and the state of New Jersey and the world need to know who Sam Joshi, the mayor, really is. So, Rich, would you continue?
Yes. As a councilman, people come to me with issues around the town.
Oh, so you're, just to clarify for our audience, you are a councilman, and where and how long?
Oh, I'm a councilman in Edison, New Jersey, approximately 6 years. Before that, I was on the Board of Ed and served there for an additional 3 years. So I've been in public service for a couple of years now. And it's not unusual to have, residents come and they ask for help, and you help them, whether it's a pothole or whatever that might be. Sometimes employees aren't getting paid, and you go and you do what you can do as an elected official to try and bring justice and awareness, and make the world right. That's the purpose of, serving, in my mind.
Can you pause there, Richard? Because that truly is the definition of an actual public servant, not a public master like Mayor Sam Joshi plays, and Nish Patel and others, but literally a humble public servant looking to support the people who voted you in, and not just the people who voted you, the people who didn't vote for you. And this is uncommon, Rich, that as I've done work all over the country, most politicians, not all, there are always outliers, and those are the people I want to talk with. They are the people who truly are doing the people's work. But You, as far as I know, are the only one who is supporting the survivor of the alleged sexual assault, the rape, and other good works there.
That I'm going to tell you what, that is true. I get upset with my own party, as a side note there.
And what party is that?
That's a Democratic Party. Like I had Mickey Sherrill, she's running for governor here in New Jersey. And I chastised her in a little piece because she was on the news chastising Donald Trump for picking someone that was a rapist. And yet she was at the Edison Festival in a picture with Sam Joshi, and where I go with it is if good politicians can't call out bad politicians from their own party to do the right thing, the country is going down the wrong road. So it's not just about right and left. We all have our own fights within our party. And, myself, I'm a Democrat. I'm not ashamed of that. We lost in the last election. And as long as we learn from our mistakes, I think we can move the party forward. But to do that, it's the bad politicians that we have to clean up, within our own party.
You're absolutely right. And when it comes to politics, I'm not for the right. I'm not for the left. I'm for what's right. And so you're not about right or left from what you just shared. You're about right from wrong. And that transcends political ideology, because whether a person's Republican or Democrat or liberal, conservative, progressive, rape is wrong. Sexual abuse is wrong. Crime is wrong. Corruption is wrong. Pay to play is wrong. Doesn't matter. I don't care who the party is. It's the individual we want to expose, regardless of party. And right now we're focusing on Mayor Sam Joshi, who happens to be a Democrat, and him being a Democrat has nothing to do with him allegedly raping women. It has to do with his lack of character and the predator-like nature he seems to portray and express regularly. Well,
when you say that's where it goes when you mention that I was like the only one that kind of came out and spoke about this. The survivor, I'm going to say survivor now. Okay. The survivor, contacted me and said that she had a story to tell me. So, I invited her over and we talked for, it was a couple hours, to be honest with you. But the first, let's say, 2 hours was not related to what we're talking about right here. Not about this incident, this rape incident. And at first I didn't know what she was, what direction she was going or what issues she actually had. And then she finally, mustered the courage, I'm going to say, in the last 15 minutes. So, what I got to believe was it was very hard for her to come out and say this. And hearing it and then knowing a little bit about her background, I truly believe that what happened. And as an elected official.
A minute, Rich, because as I've talked with her and as I've talked with other people who know her, I personally also believe that what she says happened. Yet I'm not making any legal claims. It's alleged every man, woman is presumed innocent until they are guilty, but I'm just giving my personal perspective from my conversation with her. She, to me, is extraordinarily credible.
Absolutely. And it was for that reason that I went to the Attorney General's office, of which at that time what they did was they turned it over to the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office, who seemed to have stalled. But, there's things there that the public doesn't know. Sam Joshi wasn't brought in and questioned. He met the prosecutor in a diner, I was told. So that's highly unusual. Most people have to go in. They go in and it's recorded. There's a record of it. And I was told that he went to a diner. There's photos of him and the prosecutor, standing together. So, it's questionable why this hasn't been further investigated farther than, the accusation made. And, that was kind of the extent of it. And when you hear Governor Murphy and everybody else saying how they're strengthening our laws here for it, and see that this still happens, I don't see how the laws are strong enough at this point, to be quite honest with you.
But
it was
okay, finish that, Rich.
I was just going to say that the story itself, from what she told me, right, without having to go through the graphic detail of it all, was it was horrendous to hear. You know, I mean, a lot of people have read the report themselves, but it's eye opening.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, Rich, because I'm a sexual assault, sexual abuse survivor myself. And I was sexually assaulted and abused by a Catholic priest when I was 7 years old for 4 years. And I was the first man to come forward from that church, with which dozens and dozens of other men have come forward since then. And it turned out that priest sexually assaulted and abused hundreds and hundreds of children. And it's still emotional for me now, many, many years later. So I understand what the survivor here has been going through. And there have been women who have come to me from Union City, New Jersey, because I've been investigating another extraordinarily corrupt politician. And he's not just a mayor, he's also a New Jersey state senator, and he's the head of the Judiciary Committee. So he picks the prosecutors for Middlesex County. He picks the prosecutors, all the judges. And that's Brian P. Stack, the most corrupt politician in America. And Mayor Sam Joshi is maybe a step behind him, allegedly. So when a woman came to me 8 months ago that she was sexually assaulted, and she works for Union City in the Department of Parks, and I drove 2 hours because she was afraid to go to the police. And she got to go to the police. I drove 2 hours in New York City traffic from where I live in Connecticut to meet her and be there to support her as she gave her statement. And less than 24 hours later, 2 other women came forward. Less than 24 hours later, a total of 7 people had come forward, 6 women and 1 man. And since then, even more. But did it go anywhere initially? No. Hudson County Prosecutor Esther Suarez, she covered it. Attorney General wouldn't touch it. Most of the women's groups in New Jersey wouldn't talk with these women either. And because they're all part of the same machine. And what my goal is with meeting with this survivor and yourself, Rich, is to continue to expose this so that there's enough public outcry that the Middlesex prosecutor, the Attorney General, will do the right thing. And I'm not going to stop until that happens, because when someone's victimized, if they are not stopped and held accountable, they are then empowered to do it again with other women and other women and other women. And that's systemic throughout the state of New Jersey.
No, you're 100% correct. I mean, and I commend you doing this. You know, when you asked me to do this, I have no problem with coming out and explaining what happened. The part that disturbs me the most is, like I said, we do have people within my own party. They're women, and they talk about women and women's rights, and we have to stand up for women. Yet they don't stand up for women when we talk about something like this. And that's the thing that I don't understand. I mean, I understand there's a little fear that maybe they'll have retaliation against them. My coming out, I've had personal retaliation against me. That's not what this here is about. One day I'll tell you about that. But, when you do come out and you do stand up for people, there's consequences that you have. But those consequences to me were nothing compared to what the survivor here went through. No. So if she can stand up, I can stand up next to her.
Absolutely. And the thing is, so many people, they tell me, well, they're afraid of coming forward and supporting the victims of sexual assault and rape in Union City, for example. I say, just like you said, it is nothing compared to what they went through. And I have been harassed, assaulted, robbed, and unlawfully arrested a combined over 20 times over the last year by Union City Mayor Brian Stack. And I ain't stopping. I just get stronger with every time they harass, threaten me, attack me. And because they get away with it. Bullies and sexual predators get away with it when people are they allow themselves to be bullied. And there's power in numbers, And the reason I do what I do on my YouTube channel and my Facebook, and please subscribe everyone to Leroy Truth Investigations on YouTube and Leroy Truth on Facebook. The reason I do that, because now this isn't in the shadows. So if someone comes forward like yourself, Rich, or anyone else in Edison, and they get retaliated against, I want to talk with them immediately. I want to put them on camera. I want them to expose the retaliation. Who did it? What did they do? So it can't be in the shadows anymore. Then they lose their power. So that's what we're here to do. And so with that, anything else to add before we talk to the extraordinarily courageous survivor of the alleged rape by Mayor Sam Joshi?
Listen, I'd like to thank her for turning from, in my mind, a victim into a survivor here. This is actually a monumental step.
So with that, I'd like to welcome you. And again, thank you for being courageous. And I know this is very sensitive and very emotional. And take your time. And if you can share what happened, and to be as detailed as you're comfortable with, because I know myself and Rich and other people who want to truly protect women, not just give lip service. Yeah, we believe in Me Too, believe all women, except when they actually have a real example in their own community, they run away. So with that, can you share what happened?
Hello, thank you for having me. So this all started, I believe I first learned of Sam Joshi on social media. I was a part of the Edison residence group, and I would see him comment and post occasionally. And as I would go through posts, I noticed him quite often on the page. So I clicked to learn more, and I saw that he had also gone to J.P. Stevens High School, which is where I graduated from, and he was very strong with advocating things going on in Edison. So I believe I sent him a friend request first, and I think that was probably sometime in 2019. Not sure, but I think it was around that time. So I was familiar with him on Facebook and saw him occasionally on there, but we had never conversed. But it happened during COVID, during the lockdown of 2020. I became, like everybody, more homebound. So I was going on the internet a little bit more. And I noticed that he was holding weekly updates on Facebook Live, and he was giving information. He was, at that point, the vice president of the Edison Council. So he was taking on a role of informing citizens of what was going on with the pandemic. I remember him sending me a happy birthday message on my birthday. Once we were officially in lockdown, he requested some memes from the residents to keep him in a good mood. So that's pretty much how it started. I would send him kind of funny memes and jokes, and we were trading things back and forth. And we became friends, closer friends. I had never met him in person, never seen him in person, but he was relevant during a time when not a lot of people felt relevant. Most people were home. Some people were out of jobs. A lot of my friends had lost their jobs and were in depression. So here was a person that he was entertaining. He was giving information. We were conversing, and we had many nice conversations. It was fun. We were joking. There was never anything inappropriate. He never acted inappropriately to me in messages. It was always fine. We talked about all kinds of things. We talked about Edison. We talked about the pandemic. We talked about real estate. We talked a little bit about politics, but not much. I was never into politics until COVID, when I had nothing better to do. I started paying attention because I had nowhere to go. We talked about fashion. We had some entertaining, humorous conversations. There was nothing inappropriate. I want to say it was May of 2020. I was pulling into my driveway and I got a message, and he said, "I want wine. I have a nice bottle of Chardonnay. Would you like to split it?" And I texted back. I said, what do you mean? You want me to pick up half of it from your front porch? We're not allowed to mingle. We're in lockdown as per Governor Murphy.
And he was part of telling everyone it had to be locked down too in his role, right? All right.
Exactly. So during the weekly updates, we would get the information that, if you would like to form a pod with your neighbors in a safe place, go ahead and mingle with 2 other people as long as you test negative and whatnot. But here was the vice president of the council suggesting in a text message that, no, I'm suggesting that we break the rules of social distancing and meet for cocktails.
Rules for thee, not for me, of course.
And I said, oh, honestly, I don't feel good today. And I would feel really bad if, suppose I have COVID or something, I would feel really bad if I gave you something and, potentially killed you. So
Can you pause there a minute? So literally in the midst of all this COVID insanity, he is making sure all these rules are enforced for everyone in Edison. But not only is he inviting you to break those protocols, but you informed him, again, shows your integrity. You informed him that you were sick. You could have had COVID. And you don't know his situation. He could have died.
Exactly. And I think I even joked, I would hate if I killed you by accident. And he goes, okay, fair enough. So we just kept chatting. And I remember we chatted a little bit about J.P. Stevens that night. We continued the conversation, but then that was it. Now, mind you, I was considering him a getting closer friend at the time because, we had nothing else to do other than sit at home and just chat with people because you weren't allowed to, there was nowhere to go. There was nothing open. So I was just driving from, house to house, my condo to my parents' house, and I wasn't doing anything. But he clearly suggested in a message that he would like to break the rules of social distancing that were set down by the governor. So I said no. Now, he never asked at any point if I felt better. There was, in hindsight, he never seemed to care if I recovered from whatever I had or are you doing okay? How are you feeling today? There was never any concern. Now that I look back, when you analyze the situation a little closer. About a month later, things are starting to open up a little bit. You're allowed to maybe go to a restaurant if you're sitting outside. Things are starting to open up. It's now June. I get another text. So when's the cocktail party? And in hindsight again, I received a video from him of his bar at home. And it was quite extensive. Like the entire kitchen had bottles of liquor lining it. Like he was trying to impress me with his home cocktail situation.
Well, that says a lot about his character too. So he's trying to impress you with what? With his great creative artwork. He has the Michelangelo Sistine Chapel on his ceiling. No, he tries to impress you with alcohol.
Right.
It sounds like a 15-year-old trying.
He was posting videos of cocktails he was making, different concoctions, and saying how he was making cocktails with his cousins and they were trying them, and he was into cocktails. I'll say that.
Kind of like Bill Cosby.
Again, in hindsight,
Bill Cosby, he was into cocktails too.
It should have been a red flag, like, okay, but it just seemed a little immature. I mean, I'll admit I'm a mature woman, and he was, I believe, 30 at the time, so I guess he was still in that frat boy stage. And now in hindsight, that's exactly the stage he was in. So we finally set a date. It was a Friday night, and I go over there to his condo in the gated community, and he welcomed me in. I was dressed in a special occasion outfit because I had nowhere else to go. And I was excited to meet my new friend. Honestly, I was excited to meet in person. Finally, this person I had been messaging with for several months. And again, I never expected anything to happen. I thought we were going to be close friends and just see where it goes. I mean, honestly, I had a sneaking suspicion that he might be gay from our conversations about fashion. I really didn't know what to expect with the vibes in person. And from just seeing him online talking, I said, is this guy gay or not? Maybe he is, maybe he's not. You know, I have tons of gay friends. It's not a problem. Let's just take it from there. Let's just meet. And I was excited. So I showed up in a very nice outfit that I had chosen to wear to a birthday party that had been canceled due to the lockdown. So I was wearing my brand new clothes. And we started out by having a good conversation about everything: cars, school, jobs. And he made me a cocktail, whatever it was. I forget the first round, drank it. Oh, that was good. Okay, and he's showing me around his place and giving me the grand tour. How about another cocktail? Okay. 2 down. It was different. Each cocktail was different. I had 4 different drinks that night. I remember it was 4. We went out on the porch.
Now, by the way, if I can pause you for a minute, was there anything unusual about the drinks? Did they taste, funny or strange or in any way as well?
A couple of them didn't. One of them in particular didn't taste good. It was a strange off taste, but it totally could have just been the type of liquor that I was not used to. Again, there were different flavors and different concoctions. So, one didn't taste good. I didn't finish it. I think there was one more I had after that. And I brought it outside.
But an off taste is something that's a red flag to me. And, it's one thing to taste like something you don't like.
I mean, I was watching him making them, and I didn't see anything suspicious. But he was telling me that what he was mixing and the different types of things. And there was one that didn't taste good. And then I took another one out with me to the porch, and we were on the swing. He had a swing. And I remember the only time we started talking about politics, I remember him saying, I said to him, "So you're a Democrat?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, my parents were Democrats too until they joined the Republican Party because they were so disgusted with everything going on in Edison." I remember starting a political discussion with him, and then I started feeling very ill to the point where I was going to throw up. So I said, I need to I'm sick. So I go into the kitchen, and I was sick in the sink. And I believe I threw up either twice in the kitchen. I threw up a total of 4 times in a short period of time. I made my way to the bathroom, and I threw up at least twice in there. He did come in one time, and he was standing with me at the sink, and he was like, "Are you okay?" He was patting me in the back. And I said, I can't stop throwing up. I said, please don't let me die. I was really afraid I was going to die. Like,
I want to pause here for a minute. So you felt that sick, that extraordinarily sick, that you, as you shared with me yesterday, that you thought maybe you would die. You felt that sick.
Well, I got violently ill. So I threw up 4 times. So at the sink, I said, please don't let me die. He said, I won't let you die. So I threw up again, and I was very dizzy. It's summertime. I had these nice clothes on. I started taking my clothes off because I didn't want to throw up all over my brand new expensive outfit. And I laid down on the bed because my head was spinning. Like, I couldn't even walk. Like, I knew I wasn't going to be driving home. I remember saying, like, okay, I can't drive home. He's like, oh, you're not driving home. You're good. You can stay here. Okay. So I'm laying on the bed, and I was like basically curled up in a ball on my side facing a closet. And he left for a little while. He went out. I said, okay. So I don't know if he thought I was sleeping. I had my eyes closed, but I was worried I was going to throw up again. I was worried if I had alcohol poisoning. I was embarrassed. I was very embarrassed.
It sounds like you had alcohol poisoning. So you're still, this whole time you're laying on the bed, you're still feeling very, very sick, very ill.
Yeah. And I was embarrassed because I was meeting somebody that I was so excited to meet. and it's ending really badly. You know, I'm embarrassed that I'm sick and throwing up in front of somebody that I liked as a person. So after a few minutes, I think he was just tidying up the kitchen. I mean, I had been sick in the sink, so I think he was just tidying up. And he comes back into the bedroom, and I'm just laying there silently with my eyes closed, and I feel him enter me from behind all of a sudden with no warning. He just started making love to me, because I don't want to use vulgar language. So he started penetrating me. I never gave him permission to do that. There was no prior indication that it was going to go this route. And no, I didn't say, go ahead and come in from behind me with no warning. And I asked him, are you wearing a condom? And you're in the wrong hole. Well, he was in my anus, penetrating me over and over with no protection. And he turned me on my back, and he was very forcefully penetrating me. And I remember like hearing my shoulder bone crack a little, and he was just very robotic. I was in such a bad state of mind that I just accepted it, because I was pretty much helpless at that point. I was so sick.
And a couple of things, question to clarify. Were you feeling sick and also extremely intoxicated simultaneously?
Yes, my head was spinning. I certainly wasn't out of this drunken, sick state at all while this was happening. And then the next morning, he goes to visit his sister and the two little girls and takes pictures with them to show that he hasn't seen them in 3 months. But he was just with me. How does he know I'm healthy?
Right.
So what kind of decision making is this? He just doesn't think. He doesn't care. You're doing that the night before, and the next day he goes and plays with little babies. Okay.
We need to have him investigated, thoroughly, and suspend him as mayor in the process. And then what happened after that?
And that was it. And when I left, I just felt very confused. I thought he was a responsible, mature person that I could trust, but I left feeling used. That has never happened to me before. What happened? I remember him looking at me and just saying, how do you like it? In hindsight, when I look at it, what kind of person finds that attractive?
And Rich, what would you share, if anything, from what the survivor has shared?
Like, I'll be honest, when I first heard this, before I went to the Attorney General, I called two friends of mine. The descriptions were so horrific. I mean, they were like, they're in my head, right? I almost could speak word for word. And I spoke to two officers that I know. One was a deputy chief, and he said,
What was his name at the time?
What's that?
What was the deputy chief's name at the time?
I prefer not to bring them up.
Yeah, all right.
But they told me at the time, they said, this is like a classic date rape. And I said, well, okay. And then they went on to explain that, when somebody's incapacitated, that's the premise of it. And that's why they changed the laws here and strengthened them. Because, when you're incapacitated, whether you're drunk, you're asleep, you're not aware, you're not cognizant, you can't make rational decisions at that time. And, that's what men have done over the years. So that's why they came up with this law, to protect women when they're vulnerable. So at that point, then I just knew I had to go to the Attorney General and, give it to them. I was hoping that they were going to actually, investigate. But sadly, it didn't seem like it got anywhere. But and maybe on some other podcasts, I can go through some other things with you. of other things they haven't done with Sam Joshi. It's just amazing that they don't investigate him too much. And there are many things.
He's in the protected class, which is the political machine. And I'm going to say this directly to Governor Murphy. Governor Murphy, you obviously hate women who are raped. You will support the sexual predator and the rapist and retaliate and victimize the victim, the survivor. Case in point, I've been in conversation with Katie Brennan. Governor Murphy, you know her name well. Matthew Placken, you know her name well. Hudson County prosecutor, you know her name well. And she was allegedly raped by one of your staffers when she was a volunteer for your campaign, your first governor campaign. And she was retaliated against. It was covered up on every level, just like you're describing, Rich, the same thing. But Katie Brennan, just like our survivor here, she didn't give up. She didn't give up. She was not looking for money. That wasn't the point. She was looking for justice and accountability and to stop that rapist. And she was eventually given a $1 million settlement. So they don't give $1 million settlements when nothing has happened. And she's actually running for assembly now. So up to the governor, up to the attorney general in New Jersey, they're all dirty. They support the predators and the rapists and hate and retaliate against the victims. When you want to do the right thing, Murphy, before you leave, do an investigation. Demand an investigation on Mayor Sam Joshi with people who are not dirty in the OPIA, because most of them are. So with that, in finishing up for today, what would you like to see happen to the survivor of the alleged rape by Mayor Sam Joshi?
I'm just surprised that the council, the bulk of the council, barring Richard Brescher, has not asked for an investigation or questioned it any further. It's been brought up numerous times at council meetings by Christo Macropolis, by Anthony Diamarin. Numerous people have gotten up and asked questions. What happened? The townspeople want to know, but somehow the entire thing was just thrown in the garbage by the prosecutor's office.
It is called a cover-up and protection of an elected official while the victim is re-victimized again and again. And I'm not going to let that happen. Rich is the sole, and tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, Rich. You are the sole council person who is standing up and supporting our survivor here. And no one else, right?
True. Yes, that's true. I mean, from day one, even a few weeks ago when I heard the Mickey Sherrill was chastising the Trump person appointment for being a rapist, I mean, it just infuriated me because I know that she went to Sam's Diwali event. And I knew that she had this report because somebody I know sent her this report. And I keep on going back. I'm looking at Democrats that are destroying the Democratic Party from within, basically by covering up for themselves. And I believe in the Democratic Party, and I'm not going to let it be hijacked by these bad or immoral Democrats. And I think by calling them out, it's the only way to fix this.
Absolutely. A rapist is a rapist, whether Republican or Democrat, and an enabler of rapists and sexual predators is a criminal as well, whether Republican or Democrat. Same thing. We want good people, moral people with integrity. And anyone could stand up for people when it's easy. It takes a man or a woman of courage to stand up when it's not. And you are that man. And I know your wife is proud of you as well. And I am calling on every woman who wants to protect your sisters, your mothers, your daughters, your grandmothers from people like the alleged rapist, Sam Joshi, to come forward and support this survivor. Because right now he's feeling pretty damn emboldened and empowered. And how many other women has he possibly done this with?
The reason I decided to pursue it at all, since it had never happened to me, and I didn't know where to start, I started telling some of my male friends and relatives, just a few of them, in a nutshell, what had happened.
And every single one of them said, wait a minute, you have to report this. This is not right. So one of them has 2 daughters, and he said, suppose this happened to one of my daughters. You have to report this, because suppose it's happening to other people. It's your duty to report it to authorities in case he's doing this to other people.
Absolutely.
So now it was turned around that this is my job to say something, because suppose it is happening to someone else.
Because
so I thought,
oh, go ahead.
This is a necessary step, okay, even though I really wanted to remain on good terms for various reasons with Sam Joshi. I never wanted it to get ugly, ever. And I was looking for an apology from him. And I spoke with him and met with him numerous times, hoping he would just say, that was just so bad of me. I am so sorry. I acted so inappropriately, so immaturely. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I never got a sincere apology ever.
Mayor Sam Joshi walking around being supported by the political machine and all the residents who don't know what seems to be, very, very credible allegations against him. And unless there's an actual investigation, what's going on? And there hasn't been, from what you said, Rich, right?
Right. And I got to tell you, what the survivor here just said is really what sums it up. Until the survivors come out and they tell the story, what happens is they leave this open for potentially other victims, and the one thing we can do right on the planet is to try and make as little victims on the planet as possible. So I commend her, for coming forward. I commended her for coming forward to me even, and I do appreciate it. She's doing the right thing. So thank you.
Absolutely. And for all the other possible victims of Mayor Sam Joshi, I thank you for coming forward. And again, I've been there from my experiences as well. And now there are hundreds and hundreds of others who have come forward, not just from the priests who sexually assaulted and abused me, but of other priests throughout the country. And so this is going to help inspire many, many other women and men who have been sexually assaulted, victimized, to come forward. So I am so appreciative of your courage to come forward to share your story. And so everyone, I will have links to different sexual assault survivor hotlines and groups in this video. You can always contact me and I will connect you directly with resources as well to get you help, support, and I'll do everything I can to support anyone who's been a victim, survivor of sexual assault in Edison, New Jersey, United States, anywhere in the world. So thank you, Rich, for your support and your singular courage in sharing our survivor story. And thank you very much for that. And thank you again to our survivor here for coming forward so courageously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leroy.
You're welcome.